I would care less if I woke up half broke tomorrow, just, as long as I have enough to survive and to keep leading the charge with this team of passionate people.
Most satisfying moment from your career would be what?
The biggest, most satisfying moments are when you get an announcement here in Hartley Bay with the First Nations that they've canceled the Northern Gateway pipeline of running 300 big oil tankers through this habitat every year, knowing that deforestation's been greatly reeled in here, banning death nets off the coast of California, these big drift nets that kill randomly. Those are the victories that mean everything to me. The awards, the accolades, all of it is just a small affirmation, but the big wins are these victories of protecting habitats and species.
How do you find the balance between being a photojournalist and conservationist?
It's so funny. I went on this journey of being a scientist to a pretty picture photographer. So science left me feeling empty. So excited to be a pretty picture photographer and just to see my images published in magazines. I started to feel very empty very quickly in doing that. And then from there to become a National Geographic photojournalist, that was really exciting for about 10 years. And I'm like, I need to do more. So now I'm fueled by what's the outcome? We need to say this. We need to have a conservation win. That's what fuels me now.
You, a while back, pitched your Nat Geo editors about making an emotional plea to your readers. Take me into the room and the conversation that took place around that.
All the stories I'd been doing for National Geographic were based on hardcore science. I still had that science background behind me. I was young and I said, look, can I just try a new formula? Can I write a story for National Geographic? Photographers almost never get to write in National Geographic. I said, let me write a story. Let me photograph it. Let me do an emotional plea to the readers. Let people understand that the ice in the Arctic is like the soil in a garden, that when the ice disappears, that this ecosystem will collapse. And as we see sea ice disappearing, obviously science isn't getting it done. What's going to happen when we lose ice? And I said, can I write it and can I photograph it? And they're like, yeah, it's not what we normally do around here. Photographers photograph and writers write. And I'm like, let me try it. And so they did. And we were shocked that it was not only the #1 story of the year, but it had the highest readership score of any story over the previous 14 years. And I was just like, that's what first set me off down the path of the importance of breaking down the walls of apathy, creating that emotional connection through storytelling, and not just being this sort of old school, dry, unbiased journalism. It was basically a plea. And whether it made a big difference or not, I don't know, but obviously it resonated with people.
How did your idea for a nonprofit come about?
My idea for a nonprofit was very simple in that my partner, Christina Mittermeier, originally has started an organization called the International League of Conservation Photographers. She took the world's best photographers. She got them working for her for free on the biggest conservation issues facing us today. She had conservation wins, and it just became too big and too much to handle. And as we saw everywhere we go in the world, we see problems with our oceans. And we said, taking on the whole planet is massive. There's already thousands of nonprofits doing conservation work. Let's focus on the oceans. And we need to break down the walls of apathy, and that's going to happen through visual storytelling, where we work with the top scientists. We base our imagery on science, but you have to shoot those artistic, powerful images to start the conversation. And that's when we began SeaLegacy 4 years ago.
Explain the projects that you're currently taking on through SeaLegacy.
Well, with SeaLegacy, we look for where we can make a difference, where we can have impact by bringing in our visual storytelling team. So we look for tipping points. We base it on science. We talk to the scientists. We see where the biggest issues facing our planet are today. We look where we can drive change. So we look for these tipping points. And then from there, we put together a visual storytelling expedition. So we go on expedition, we gather the assets, and from there we have our campaign team that run with these visuals through social media, through television, through big political pushes. And then from there we work towards solutions. And then from there we film our solutions and we create this nice little feedback loop. And we're actually having victories and wins. And it's a powerful thing when all you have to do is use your camera, put these issues in front of an international court of public opinion, get the world weighing in on it, and politicians listen when you get 220,000 signatures on an issue and people start to speak their mind.
What are some of the wins you've had?
Well, one of the big wins is right here. We're so excited to be back here in Hartley Bay. We came here in 2010 when the Northern Gateway pipeline from Enbridge, from the tar sands, was being pushed through this territory to Kitimat to this coast, where 300 oil tankers, 10 times bigger than the Exxon Valdez, we're going to come through these very, very rich, nutrient-rich waters year-round with some of the dirtiest oil in the world on board, and working with the First Nations, using our images, doing a major cover feature for National Geographic magazine on the Spirit Bear, getting another 20 pages about the oil industry and a pipeline through, it was called Pipeline Through Paradise. And then to just see the efforts of Pacific Wild and other the nonprofits, every First Nation between here and Alberta came together to stand in solidarity against this, and to eventually, in the courts, through pressure, to have Enbridge shut down the Northern Gateway pipeline project through this territory. It was just a really beautiful victory. We're taking on whaling, the whaling of an endangered fin whale species in Iceland. We've taken on the drift net campaign off the coast of California, when Californians have no idea that there's these mile-long nets out there killing dolphins and whales and seals and sea lions for swordfish fisheries, which shouldn't be allowed in the first place. So that's another one that we're winning, where it's going well. We've banned the oil and seismic exploration in the fjords of Norway, northern fjords of Norway, where the orcas come to feed in the winter on herring. It's just one after another, and we've figured out this blueprint. Our team is growing, and we're just going to try and mow these down one after another.
How has the work you're doing to build SeaLegacy impacted your ability to do for-profit work? It's
been a very interesting journey. I never thought I would arrive at this point, but where it's become such a selfless pursuit, where I'm for the last 5 years, I've been pouring my own personal resources into growing SeaLegacy. Christina's been doing that. We still don't collect a wage, and yet we're starting to raise significant funding. And at some point, when you're turning down paid work, you're turning down assignments with National Geographic, you're turning down lectures and appearance fees, because you want to keep growing this conservation movement. At some point, this business model is going to fail when you keep spending tons of money on something, trying to grow it, and then not paying yourself. So I'm building a team around myself as well to keep growing my own brand and business, and as well as growing SeaLegacy. But SeaLegacy is first and foremost for us.
How do you think it's impacted you financially?
Just spending a lot of money and not making any after a while. But I was at a point 3-4 years ago where I could have retired, and it was at that point that it was scary. Like, retire? Why? I've got 30 years left in this body to go out and crush it and grind it out and get these visual assets and lead these people, lead these storytellers. I would care less if I woke up half broke tomorrow. Just as long as I have enough to survive and to keep leading the charge with this team of passionate people, it's fine. Money will come. We're finding ways to grow our social media, to using our social. Someone just paid me $22,000 to put a little story on my feed. If I can have this machine working behind me while I'm out doing the work that's important to me, then we have found the perfect balance. Someone just made an anonymous donation to SeaLegacy for $400,000 US to set Christina and I free. Like, don't worry about making money. Go out there and do your work. Get out there on the front lines. Lead your team. And it was like, it's a beautiful, beautiful gesture. It's a nice surprise. So the money's going to come. We're not worried about that. What I'm really proud of with SeaLegacy is that we've started something called the Tide, which is people are anywhere from $1 to $5,000 a month. People are making these donations, and we're trying to grow that tide, where rather than waiting for one corporate sponsor or big generous donations like that we can have tens of thousands of people giving $10 a month, which will ultimately turn into millions of dollars a year, allowing our team to be out there basically without money being a factor in the work that we do, just being an autonomous hub of content creation for conservation wins.
And where do people go if they
just go to the website, SeaLegacy.org. You can just join the Tide, and by there it's like sort of a Patreon account, or where you get to be part of the journey. You get to be behind the scenes and get special access to footage and the work that we're doing. It's been a model that's working. We just need to grow it.